There are some franchises you have a very special soft spot for, and as soon as they get announced, well, it's true that it's hard to control yourself. That was definitely the case for me with Sword Art Online. When Bandai Namco teased a new JRPG, but revealed it wasn't going to be a new Tales of, I was honestly pretty disappointed. Tales of Arise was absolutely exceptional. I had actually campaigned back then for it to win Game of the Year in the RPG category, and I was really glad when it rightfully won that award. But a few days later, we learned that it wasn't a Tales of, but a brand new Sword Art Online. And not just any entry, a return to the Aincrad arc. The arc that put the franchise on the map. The one everyone dreamed of reliving in a true modern RPG. Right then and there, my hype skyrocketed. I had already thoroughly enjoyed Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, where I dumped over 100 hours. So just imagine diving back into the Aincrad arc with modern technology. On paper, it was exactly the game I was waiting for. Unfortunately, after putting over 50 hours into the title, well, I come away with a pretty bitter taste in my mouth. Because the potential is huge, but the final result falls way short. And above all, it's really hard to justify its price tag. Welcome back to a new Gamers Corner video, where I'll be giving you my full review. As usual on this channel, you'll find reviews and previews of all the latest releases. Indie games, AAA, you name it. Don't hesitate to subscribe to support the channel. Welcome to all the newcomers, and let me present my full review of Sword Art Online, Echoes of Aincrad, with just over 50 hours of playtime under my belt. So, the single biggest issue is that it never actually feels like Sword Art Online. What makes SAO so strong isn't just its combat system, it's above all its world. 10,000 players trapped inside an MMORPG, forced to cooperate to survive, climb the floors, and hope to regain their freedom. Because when you die in the game, you die in real life too. Except in Echoes of Aincrad, well, you never feel that at all. The maps are absolutely massive, but they are completely empty. There are only 2 floors of the tower to explore, and there are virtually no players around. Now, in towns, you do see a massive population of players, like in the starting town, Town of Beginnings, which is literally what it's called in the anime. But once you step outside the city walls, well, there's literally nobody. The dungeons are just as deserted. You don't run into anyone farming, anyone exploring, anyone fighting. And it's incredibly strange. Because we're supposed to be in one of the biggest MMORPGs from the anime, but then, where is everybody? Why is no one grinding for XP? Why is no one participating in clearing the floors of Aincrad? The result? It feels more like exploring an empty, generic single-player RPG than a living world where you're supposed to coexist with 10,000 other players trying to survive. It's supposed to be an MMORPG simulator, and it fails completely, at least on this title. And I just don't get it. When you try to make an MMORPG simulator based on the anime or manga, well, you should include everything that makes the genre so rich. You already have tons of ideas to draw inspiration from. Players asking for help, parties fighting monsters, world bosses spawning at specific times, contested dungeons, PK zones, player killers. Where is the PvP? In the anime, player killing is central to the plot, because these are actual player murderers. Since when someone kills you in the game, you die in real life. And well, I find it really sad to miss the mark by this much, light years away from offering even a taste of what it should represent. Here, you just get 2 floors. The first floor is pretty green, very nature-focused with forests, marshes, and so on, but completely deserted. There are just monsters, and that's it. And honestly, the way they designed exploration is the exact same story. A total failure. The areas you can explore are strictly limited to whatever quest you currently have active. If you start a side quest, the portion of the floor map you can visit is strictly restricted to that quest's specific zones. You can't leave them. You can't even explore the first floor at your own pace in a free roam mode. No, you have to replay a previously completed quest just to revisit those specific areas. Why does this matter? Because in these areas, you have the equivalent of a bonfire. They went a bit Souls-like with the design. Once activated, you can rest, make monsters respawn, and most importantly, clear the entire fog of war for that subzone so you can see all the chests available to loot. That's literally the only side activity in the entire game, going around opening chests. And here comes my big rant, because we need to talk about the loot. It's just completely mind-boggling. And while the first world, the first floor, is somewhat okay to explore, the second floor's level design, it'll drive you absolute nuts. Because to go open chests, well, it forces you to take massive detours, and oh boy, it's pure agony. So you get zero enjoyment out of exploring. No organic events ever happen. You slay a few monsters, open chests, and head straight to the boss. Quests boil down to going from point A to point B. At point B, a boss is waiting, you beat it, and that's it. Exploration is so depressingly dull, it's unreal. And again, if you didn't open all the chests in an area, well, first you have to write down the name of the quest you were doing. If you didn't finish everything, you'll have to replay it, go back into completed quests, manually select it, just to launch an exploration run, search for missing chests, or unlock points you missed. When you open every chest in an area, no special reward. When you activate all the bonfires in a region, same thing, zero reward. There is literally no incentive pushing you to explore. Speaking of chests, they offer probably the worst loot system I've ever seen in a video game. I genuinely don't understand how chest rewards got approved internally. 90% of the time, you open a chest and what do you get? Consumables. And sometimes it borders on ridiculous. For example, some chests are blocked by fragile stone walls. So you throw an explosive bomb, break down the wall, and grab your loot. Or a wall of brambles, which you burn away using a firestone. I kid you not. You use a firestone to burn the brambles, reach the chest, open it, and what does it give you? A firestone. I mean, are you kidding me? You literally used the exact same consumable found inside the chest, in the exact same quantity. You spend one, you get one back. What kind of joke is that? It's just padded playtime. I was completely blown away by how ridiculous it is. Now, to be fair, there are two types of chest rewards that can actually be useful, which is why I said 90% of the time. In the remaining 10%, you might get a crafting blueprint for a weapon or armor piece. For weapons, it's nice but nothing special, because eventually you get so much loot from bosses and mobs that you rarely end up crafting weapons. Armors, on the other hand, are unique drops. You can only get them by crafting, so unlocking armor blueprints is actually crucial. Plus, armor pieces are unique with specific mod stats. For instance, I have an armor set that restores health on every kill, which is super cool. And honestly, that's the only real carrot on a stick, getting those crafting materials. But trust me, exploring the world only to land on garbage rewards 9 times out of 10, it creates a level of frustration that's really hard to defend. Next up, dungeons. Dungeons are literally the same thing on loop. It's a sequence of corridor interactions with a single main path leading to the boss. Everything else consists of side areas you can explore, but it's blatant copy-paste every single time, filled with treasure chests. And the catch with dungeon chests is they respawn, meaning there's no unique loot or blueprints in them. So basically, you just ignore them. Once you realize dungeon chests don't drop blueprints, you can breeze through dungeons in 2 seconds, head straight to the boss, and be done with it. On top of that, you'll quickly reach a point of exhaustion with them. Visually, they all look identical. Same architecture, same corridors, same rooms. You get maybe 3 or 4 dungeon variants: a cave, some elven ruins, a ruined castle, and calling it a castle is generous. It's just a succession of walls and towers. You never actually enter a proper Dark Souls-style castle. So yeah, it's the exact same progression structure over and over. And then we have, oh boy, the bestiary. Guys, the bestiary. I've never seen anything like this. It's ridiculous. Boars, bears, wolves, bull or cow creatures, and they recycle them to death. For instance, with wolves, you get a weak standard brown wolf, a slightly stronger black wolf, an elite white wolf, and then a wolf boss. And that white elite wolf? They'll reuse it as a mini-boss in certain quests too. And they do the exact same thing for bears, boars, cows. It's maddening. I have never seen such a lazy bestiary. They recycled assets to the maximum. You fight wolves at the start of the game, and you're still fighting them on the second floor. 50 hours in, and I'm still slaughtering wolves and boars. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Moving on to the story. You play as a custom character you create yourself. I actually really enjoyed the opening phase of the game, where you could download the free demo for Sword Art Online, which acts as the game's beta test within the story itself. And it's pretty faithful to the anime in that sense. You're a beta tester. So you get a head start because you know your way around, you know the combat mechanics, and so on. The first few hours were actually quite enjoyable. Then you're asked to create your avatar. But when you launch the game on official release day, when your journey officially begins, you still have your beta avatar. I noticed a lot of players were confused by this because they didn't necessarily follow the anime. But just like in the anime or manga, your avatar's appearance changes at the point in the story where the game developer tells you to use the mirror. He gives you an item in your inventory, and when you use the mirror, your character transforms into what you look like in real life. It's funny because it leads to silly situations where someone who made a cute female avatar suddenly turns into a 50-year-old middle-aged guy. Well, in the game, they did the exact same thing. So when you create your character, don't think it's a bug. You just need to use the mirror item to unlock the custom look you created. I thought that was a neat touch of lore fidelity. Same thing with logging out. I saw people complaining, "I can't log out of the game." Well, yeah, that's literally the plot of SAO. Players put on a VR headset to play an MMORPG, and the creator trapped them. If they try to force quit, their brain gets fried, game over. That's why dying in the game means dying in real life. So they removed the logout button. The button exists in the beta demo, which is pretty clever. It's not hard to exit. You just go to Options, Settings, all the way to the right, and quit there. But removing the main logout button on launch day was a cool little Easter egg. So it starts off on a good note. You follow the adventures of your custom character and your party. The main cast from the anime and manga, Kirito, Asuna, and the rest, are present too. But you experience events somewhat in parallel, especially during the first floor boss battle. Overall, it's an interesting perspective. Since we already know the original story, following an alternate storyline works for me. There's also a side plot involving the god of death that isn't in the anime, and honestly, I didn't mind that at all. The real problem is that following the main quest requires traversing these bloated maps and repetitive long corridors. It completely ruins the pacing. Sometimes you're literally just sprinting forever. Worse, mobs aggro from miles away, and as soon as you enter combat mode, sprinting drains your stamina bar, and they chase you forever. So you end up being chased by some weak level 1 mob. It drains your stamina, forces you to stop, and while you kill it in 2 hits, doing that constantly slows everything down. There are tons of mobs scattered everywhere, completely destroying the story's momentum. That's a major downside. Then there's another major flaw regarding the writing and dialogue options. I mentioned the chests earlier, but just like the loot, I have no idea how these dialogue choices got greenlit. Your character is silent. Personally, silent protagonists drive me crazy. Thank you, Monster Hunter, for finally giving our character a voice. But to make matters worse, the game gives you dialogue choices, and every single time, it boils down to two options: nod or look confused. That's it. Zero impact, no actual lines, just nod or look confused. What on earth is that? Who designed this? It's mind-boggling, totally unreal. And it completely ruins the conversations because by the time you're clicking nod for the 35th time, you just want to skip every dialogue box. Despite all of that, there is a solid foundation underneath. On the positive side, the soundtrack, when it plays, as it can be a bit quiet, is actually pretty good. Visually, the art direction is really nice. The game looks great. Combat feels satisfying and snappy. Skills are fun to pull off, and there's a wide variety of weapon types. You also get a fairly deep stat allocation system, letting you invest points into different attributes. Hitting specific thresholds unlocks bonus perks. For instance, putting 10 points into dexterity grants a 10% damage boost for dex scaling weapons. Like a Souls game, which is why I said they went a bit Souls-like, stats directly affect weapon scaling. One-handed and two-handed swords scale with dex, while axes and maces scale with strength, so you can build unique playstyles. On top of that, weapons have mod slots, and similar to Neo, you can transfer mods between weapons. For example, on my main sword, I have plus 10% one-handed skill damage. From other weapons in my inventory, I can pull a plus 10% XP boost, extra stamina, or additional skill points, which is basically mana. You can stack those onto your primary weapon to fine-tune your build, which is actually really well executed. The same goes for armor. Based on the blueprints you discover, each armor piece comes with an exclusive mod that cannot be transferred. So unfortunately, you'll have to explore if you want to collect every armor blueprint. But since defense stats don't vary wildly between tiers, the perks matter more. All in all, build customization offers plenty of depth. Plus, visual customization is great. You can dye armor pieces and apply cosmetics freely, which is awesome. So at its core, the combat, progression, and customization are solid. But it lacks so much of what should make Aincrad feel alive. I don't understand why there are no PK mechanics, or side quests asking you to investigate murders and hunt down red-named player killers. In the anime, dealing with player killers is a massive part of the story. SAO isn't just about clearing floors, it highlights how dark human nature can get when trapped. The real threat isn't just monsters, it's other players, a theme you see in anime like Gantz. Leaving that out entirely feels like a huge missed opportunity. And the cherry on top is the price tag. Seriously guys, they completely lost their minds here. They're charging $60 for a purely single-player game with all these flaws. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is a feature, and honestly, I find this so greedy. They locked a mode behind completing the game once, claiming it's an early access unlock, when it should be available to everyone on day one. The death game mode. Permadeath. If you die, your save is wiped, and you start from scratch. That's literally the mode every single SAO fan wants to play. It's what captures the true high-stakes experience of the anime and manga. Locking it behind the $85 deluxe edition to play it early is absurd. Sure, you unlock it after beating the story once in the standard edition, but who wants to rerun the exact same game just to get permadeath when you already know all the traps? The thrill of a death game is experiencing it on your blind first run. Selling early access to permadeath in a deluxe package is just shameless greed. So yeah, that's my take. It really frustrates me that here we are, and we still don't have a legitimate, full-fledged Sword Art Online MMORPG. The entire IP is about players trapped in a virtual MMO, Yet we get single-player games pretending to be one. It's mind-boggling. But it is what it is, and I'm sure I'm not the only fan who feels this way. I hope you enjoyed this review. There's a free demo if you want to try it out yourself, though keep in mind the opening hours are much better than the rest of the game. If you enjoy what's in the demo, know that it's more of the same for the rest of the campaign. There is plenty of content if you're a completionist who wants to open every chest and tackle the endgame. If you catch it on sale down the line for 30 or 40 bucks, or after a few major patches, it might be worth considering. But at $60, it's a hard pass. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more reviews on upcoming releases, and I'll see you very soon. This was John for Gamers Corner. Ciao!